Hello everyone, Caleb the Sports Guy here today, and we're here to discuss this year's Commercial 500 presented by Daytona. Oh, my bad. I meant the Daytona 500, and I will be talking about what I liked about it and what I didn't like about it. So, let's just jump right in. First, I do want to start by saying congratulations to Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and the 47 team. The pure definition in this race of the right place at the right time. Also, a lot of help from Kyle Larson, who I also want to give a shout out to for racing as well as he did. He has been knacked on hard for really being bad at super speedways, and he really showed a lot of improvement in this year's Daytona 500. It was very unfortunate to see him get wrecked out in that final lap. Glad to see he was okay from that wreck. But for the 47 team, that team has been so good at super speedways for these past couple of years, and Stenhouse has always been great at super speedways. And I feel like this team had a super speedway win coming. They were really good at Daytona last year, and they decided to pick the right race to finally show up and win a super speedway race, that being this year's Daytona 500. So congratulations again to that team. Now, for what I felt was good in this race, let's start off with the racing itself. I know people have been very upset with how the race ended, but take away the last 10 laps of the race, and the first 190, 195 were phenomenal. This race was great in general, in my opinion, and it was nice to see strategy be a key factor in this one. Typically, in super speedway racing, you don't see a lot of strategy, and this time in NASCAR, with all the stage racing, you don't see strategy in general. So to see as much strategy be played in this one was awesome. And no other team took more advantage of the strategy this year than RFK, who in my opinion was the best team on Sunday, led by Brad Keselowski and Chris Buescher. And in my opinion, if it wasn't for all the things that happened at the end of this race, I think this team would have won. One of their drivers would have been in victory lane. And we would have been talking about how RFK, who looked terrible at the Coliseum, came into Speed Weeks, looked pretty good in qualifying, looked really solid in the duels, and then were the team to beat in the 500. I got to say, this team, watch out for them at Talladega and Daytona later this year, because this team will probably be the team to beat when it comes to those races. Now, another thing I did like in this race for the most part was the commentating. Mike Joy continues to be an amazing commentator, even into his mid-70s, and it was nice to see Boyer get more engaged into the racing itself. However, at times he just seemed unenthusiastic about it, and it just felt like either he was just out of it, or he was just so focused that he just didn't really have any hype, because, oh man, they wrecked, because he was just reacting as like a spotter would, I guess. But it was nice to see him more engaged. The other big reason I feel like, though, is because the chemistry in the booth is just off. Not having that third guy in the booth like they used to, obviously with it used to being Darrell Waltrip, Jeff Gordon, obviously used to be Mike Joy, Larry Mack, and Darrell Waltrip. Having that consistent third guy has really killed them. Tony Stewart was in the booth for the 500. Tony Stewart will be in the booth this week at Fontana. And then for the next 2 weeks after that, it'll be Danica Patrick. And then at Atlanta, it'll be Tony Stewart again. So I feel like there's a huge downside to this rotating third person in the booth. So I hope when they throw Kevin Harvick in the booth next year, as he's the consistent third man, it's going to be hopefully bring some restructure to the booth and make everything run more smoothly. So now on to the bad. I do have some complaints about the on-track action. And it's more or less the racing itself and more of the wreck fest that we end up seeing. It really sucks to see the fact that all these amazing drivers in the final 5 laps of the most important race of the year just turn into absolute imbeciles and just wreck each other, destroying tons of cars and just turning what should have been one of the best 500s of all time into an absolute wreck fest at the end. And, it just really stinks because the best car all day could lead every single lap, be up front all day, and because it's Daytona and because these drivers are sometimes how they are, that guy can just get dumped on the back straightaway. We've seen it happen so many times in the Daytona 500. And honestly, it's one thing to pass a guy, and that's how you beat him. We've seen that happen plenty of times. Look at the 2007 Daytona 500 where Kevin Harvick beat Mark Martin to the line. Look at the 2016 Daytona 500 where Denny Hamlin beat Martin Truex to the line. It's capable to be done without wrecking the entire field. So I want to see drivers do that more instead of just turning this race into a wreck fest, or just wrecking the driver in the lead, or wrecking the entire field all at once. Now, my biggest complaint, and I guarantee you this is everyone's biggest complaint, and if you watched anybody who recapped this year's Daytona 500, this is their biggest complaint. That being the
Whopper, 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 Junior, Double, Triple, Whopper, Flame Grill taste with perfect toppers. I rule this day.
You guessed it, the commercials. The fact that we had an commercial on average every 7 to 8 laps. By the way, thank you to the Iceberg for doing the math for us. His channel will be linked in the description below. It made you really hard to get into this race. You didn't know at all when Fox said, screw it, throw a commercial on the screen. And at one point, they threw a commercial, a crash happened, you could see it on the side-by-side, and it took them 2 more minutes to finally go back to Daytona and show us what happened with the wreck. Fox has got to figure something out, and if I'm NASCAR, especially seeing how many people were upset, and also knowing this is the Super Bowl of the year for you guys, the most important event of all year, you have so many people watching this race, you have got to address this with Fox and be like, hey guys, we need to tone it down. I don't know what they got to do, whether it be, hey, less commercials, or doing like a wide open coverage like TNT used to do. There's options that they can definitely go into, and it's a matter of will they do it or will they just not do it. Especially since Fox wants to stay around with this new TV deal for the next 10 years, which would mean they would be around till 2034. NASCAR has really got to address this. But that's my opinions. Now, I want to ask you guys, what did y'all love and hate about this year's Daytona 500? And go ahead, leave a comment down below. Tell me what you loved about it. Tell me if you were at the race or if you were just watching at home. Just let me know, and also share this video and subscribe if you haven't already. And I do want to say, you guys, I appreciate all the support on these videos, and I promise more videos are coming at a more frequent basis. I promise you guys. And for now, I'll see you all in the next one.